Hello and welcome. We are back with the big exit poll. The exit poll that all of you have been waiting for. The India Today will dissect the exit poll that really matters, that has got the best track record in the country. And we're going to do it with an election team that has traveled and crisscrossed Bihar over the last month to tell you what will happen in Bihar. Which way is the wind blowing? I'm joined by my colleagues, starting with Gaurav Sawant. He's placed in the center of it all in a way. Gaurav, all set for the big exit poll?
Absolutely, Rajdeep, because this is extremely crucial. Nitish Kumar already has the record of being the longest serving Chief Minister of Bihar. Will he be sworn in the 10th time is that big question, and we'll tell you indications which way is the wind blowing. Preeti.
All right, of course, we'll tell you which way the wind is blowing, but ultimately it will also come down to cutting-edge data analytics, and there's only one place that you need to turn to, and that is the India Today group, where, of course, what has been speculated, Maria, and I'm going to deep dive into the numbers later, is the voter turnout. A lot hinges on the woman vote, and women have come out in unprecedented numbers to vote in Bihar.
And that's right. And just as we think that we know Bihar, based on pure arithmetic, Bihar surprises all. Just as it has done this time around with a remarkable, a historic voter turnout. What does it all mean? And will the pollsters get this election in Bihar right? But first up, the headlines.
Less than 48 hours to go for results day. India Today gets you the big Bihar prediction. The exit poll numbers that really matter coming up in a special 3-hour broadcast. Does the record voter turnout in Bihar indicate pro or anti-incumbency? Who could benefit from the massive Mahila and youth turnout? Also, a massive manhunt has been launched for another car of terror. Police issue an alert for a red eco-sport with registration number DL10CK0458. Police at all border points told to be fully armed. Prime Minister Modi heads straight to the LNJP hospital after touching down in Delhi from Bhutan, meets the injured, reiterates conspirators will pay. A cabinet meeting on security to begin shortly. And more doctors of terror arrested as a statewide crackdown continues across Jammu and Kashmir. 7 doctors taken into custody. Faridabad's Al Falah University clarifies, says taught medicine, not terror in the university. Good evening, hello and welcome. We're 2 days away from V-Day or Verdict Day in Bihar. And you're joining us for our special exit poll coverage. Over the next 3 hours, we'll decode for you what the pollsters' predictions are for Bihar. Which way is the wind really blowing? We'll also keep a very keen eye, as we've said, on the aftermath of the Delhi blast. Gaurav here with me has been tracking every moment of that. The Prime Minister will be chairing a cabinet security meeting shortly, and there's a red alert sounded in the national capital for a red eco-sport that was registered in the suspected suicide bomber Umar's numbers. So the Bihar exit poll numbers and the Delhi blast updates coming your way over the next few hours. Joining me here in the studio, and let me tell you, the table is full, as is the exit pollsters who will actually bring the numbers. These are credible exit polls and not someone just punching in the numbers. So it's been rigorous, and that's why we've taken our time to bring you those details. Rajat Sethi joins us. He's been tracking elections for a long time, has also consulted with a few BJP chief ministers in particular on polling. And has managed their election campaign, so knows a thing or two about elections. Sajjan Kumar has been tracking Bihar for a while now, done a lot of qualitative analysis. He will do a lot of the number crunching for us, particularly on counting day. Next to him is Maria Shakil. I call her Bihar ki beti. She is Patna Women's College. and knows the ins and out of her state. She's been crisscrossing it. Gaurav is here. When he's not at Red Fort, he's in the studio here with us, and he will tell us not just what's happening in Bihar, where he traveled to recently, but also any updates that come on the Delhi blast. Preeti Chaudhary has perhaps traveled more than most right across Bihar. The nooks and crannies brought you stories that other channels have not really brought the other side of Bihar on her election dispatch. So she's got much to offer. Javed Ansari, the veteran of political journalism, has done more than 4 decades of it. Knew Bihar long before even Lalu Prasad and Nitish Kumar were on the scene. So welcome, Javed. You've known them for a very long time. And Manisha Priyam, another beti of Bihar from Chhapra. So great to have such strong women representation, because let me tell you, if there is one thing we're going to look at in Bihar, apart from the caste factor that traditionally is looked at, this time it's the Mahila vote. And in a moment, my colleague Preeti Chaudhary is just going to the election intelligence dashboard to tell you just why the Mahila vote in Bihar has never been more crucial. Remember, we've had a record turnout across male and female, and we'll tell you exactly why that woman vote could be critical. Over to you, Preeti.
All right, Rajdeep, what we're doing is cumulatively looking at all phases. There were only 2 this time around. And one thing is for sure, Rajdeep, if we hark back ever since independence, Bihar has not voted in the sheer might that it has voted this time around. So if we go on to our election intelligence dashboard, and mind you, over the course of the next 3 days, you're going to see so much data analytics coming up and popping up on this screen, and what all is possible is just amazing. But take a look at all the phases, that 2-phase election that happened in terms of turnout. I want to quickly look at the numbers there. Right from 2010, you can see that steady rise in turnout. 2025, it was a whopping 67%. You go a little deeper in terms of the micro data. Second phase has voted more than the first phase. But what many say, the vote of Bihar hinges on and is the Mahila vote, the woman vote. So let's quickly look at the gender breakup this election, and you see it right there on your television screen. It's a whopping difference of 9% where it comes down to between, you can see the blue, we've gone to the traditional stereotypes of markers, so blue is male, the pink is female. But if you see it right from 2010, constantly increasing, the woman pulling away. The last time around, it was a 6% difference, 2020, and many say women were undercounted, and therefore the anomalies, Rajdeep, that we had seen in many exit poll data. But this time around, look at the figure there, Rajdeep, a 9% difference between the women and the men voting percentage.
Just to tell you, the Axis My India poll numbers will be out shortly. We have the first teaser of the Axis My India poll numbers, and these are percentages. We actually have the Axis My India exit poll percentages. It's giving the NDA at the moment 43% of the vote. 43% of the vote as per Axis My India is going to NDA. Mahagathbandhan of the opposition 41%, so very close. 43%, 41%, you would presume 2% is within the margin of error. The Suraj party is at 4%, others are at 12%. Those are the first key details that we are getting. I also, while we put those graphics up for you, want to tell you, to take off from what Preeti said, remember the turnout from women was about 9% more. How does that translate into total number of votes? 2.47 crore men voted in Bihar. Big numbers, keep it in mind. 2.47 men voted, 2.52 crore women voted. So the difference, this is the first time in Bihar's history that women have voted more than men in absolute numbers as well. Average excess votes cast by women is 1,767 per constituency. Why does this matter? Take a look at this. In 2020, in where the seats where women voters exceeded men was 119. Out of the 243 seats in Bihar, 119 women voters exceeded men. The NDA was leading in 72 out of them, that's 60.5%. The Mahagathbandhan in 42, that's 35.3%. So you would expect the NDA to have an advantage from Mahila. But as you can see, even before, Gaurav, you go to the next set, the fact that Pradeep Gupta and Axis have come up with these numbers, NDA 43, Mahagathbandhan 41, is this now turning out to be a very tight race? I know 1% in Bihar can make a huge difference in seats, but a quick response, Rajat Sethi, to the first big numbers coming in the Axis My India exit poll.
2% is a lot. 2% would signify a clean sweep for the NDA. In 2020, when both the vote shares of both Mahagathbandhan and NDA were almost exactly same at 36%, we still saw NDA doing better in terms of seat conversion. Therefore, I have no doubt at all that if these numbers were to hold, it would be a clean sweep for the NDA. With the polling percentage, Rajdeep, let me highlight one fundamental factor as to why the polling percentage, both in women and in men, have gone up. It is because of the SIR exercise. SIR exercise has been able to remove duplicate votes, fictitious votes out of the voting list, which naturally reduces the denominator. If the denominator goes down by 40-50 lakh votes, it naturally has an impact on higher polling percentage. So while there has been an exuberance of voters, there is an over-encompassing factor, which is the SIR, which has reduced the voters and removed certain voters from the list which were fictitious. This is the reason why the voting percentage is record high, as you are saying this time.
Okay. Do you think, Sajjan Kumar, this is within the margin of error? 43% NDA, 41% Mahagathbandhan, 4% only to Jan Suraj, 12% others. Do you get a sense that these first numbers from the Axis My India poll are within the margin of error? And make it a very close contest as per their poll?
If you go by the polling percentage, then certainly one can say it's not a sweep for NDA. But in terms of 2% for Bihar, wherein you always find constituency level, people say that it's a very close contest. 2% gives a directional clarity, right? And therefore, as far as the directional clarity is concerned, it syncs with the ground feedback that we all were getting. Only discrepancy that we find in this is the others who are getting 12%, because if you see the consistency of others or independents in Bihar, it's in and around 8%, right? So I think this data, 12%, which is going to the other, needs to be factored in. But as far as 2% lead is concerned, I agree with Rajat that it's going to give a directional clarity that NDA is ahead.
Okay, we'll wait and see how this is translating into numbers as per the Axis My India poll. But I want to get in quick comments from Manisha and Javed. Manisha, you first there. Do you get a sense that we are now witnessing perhaps a tough fight if these numbers hold, particularly the Jan Suraj at 4%? Should the Jan Suraj be underpolled by some circumstance, this election could change again.
Let me not get to the pivot point of Jan Suraj, but let me say that at these numbers, at 41 and 43, it still seems like an election which is about Nitish and which is about Lalu. The fulcrum of these elections is still a lot about those who are anti-Lalu and wouldn't want to get him and his ilk back. And it is still about Nitish and those who would want to say thank you, even in the sunset day of politics. Yes, a pivot coming out, but remember, Jan Suraj and Prashant Kishor have their origins in the support that he lended once to Nitish. I do see these numbers as very credible. It did seem like a neck-and-neck fight, but the NDA ahead, and that's what the percentages show here.
You know what, interestingly, last time, both the main alliances were around the 37% mark. So these numbers would suggest a 6% increase in the NDA. Not surprising, because Chirag Paswan and Upendra Kushwaha have joined the alliance compared to 2020. And it shows even the Mahagathbandhan going up from 37 to 41. Again, not surprising, because this time they've also got the VIP party on their side, who could bring a 3 to 4% possibly to their rank. Javed Ansari, first quick comments.
So it's not surprising. It's very much in line with what the reporters from the ground have been telling you, which of course, again, not surprisingly, is at variance with what the pundits sitting in air-conditioned studios have been saying. So I'm not surprised, and I still believe it will go down to the wire. Although having said that, I will also be not surprised if NDA doesn't eventually turn out to be the winner.
Okay. Now remember, is Bihar a state which is voting for the incumbent? Nitish Kumar has been Chief Minister for 20 years with just one short gap between 2013 2014. Otherwise, he's been dominant, the longest serving Chief Minister of the Hindi heartland. Is Bihar a pro-incumbency or an anti-incumbency state is one of the big questions, even as we are bringing you that breaking news of Axis My India poll giving 43% to Nitish Kumar, to the Nitish Kumar-led NDA, 41% to the Mahagathbandhan. Prashant Kishor's Jan Suraj is at only 4%, others are 12%. So a 2% gap in Bihar can become 20-30 seats at the very minimum in difference between the two alliances. Remember last time there was only 12,000 votes that separated the two alliances, and yet there was a healthy 18-seat edge eventually to the NDA. Pro-incumbency, anti-incumbency. Gaurav Sawant, take it away. Give us a sense to our viewers of the history of Bihar.
So Rajdeep, Bihar has had a history, and let's take it from pre-independence, or for the sake of this conversation, 3 phases from 1950 to 77, which was seen as the Congress era, 1990 to 2005, which was seen as Lalu era, and 2005 onwards, which was seen as the Nitish Kumar era. When you talk about 1950 to 77, Shri Krishna Singh, actually from 1946 onwards, Shri Krishna Singh, the second longest serving Chief Minister then of Bihar, almost 15 years, seen as the architect of modern Bihar. Then the Ram Manohar Lohia agitation, 67-68, that's the era that saw a little change that was happening in Bihar, the era of change. Karpuri Thakur became the Chief Minister. Then, of course, again, you had the emergency, post-emergency. You had a number of Chief Ministers who were coming and going. So there was a period of pro-incumbency. Then there was a period of flux in Bihar, a number of Chief Ministers coming and going. Let me then take you to the Lalu Prasad Yadav era, from 1990 to 2005. 7 long years, Lalu Yadav, he was Chief Minister till the time he was charge-sheeted in the fodder scam case. Then for 8 long years, practically 8 years, Rabri Devi was the Chief Minister. Very briefly, you had an era when Nitish Kumar came in, but it was almost 15 years of Lalu Raj till 2005 when Nitish Kumar came in. And how? Look at the election of 2010, that 2010 election that was seen as an absolute game changer at that time in Bihar. The BJP and JDU had 206 seats on their own. And then post 2010, whoever Nitish Kumar was with was the government in power. If he was with RJD, it was RJD and Nitish. If it was with BJP, it was BJP and Nitish. But Nitish Kumar was Chief Minister. Brief period where Jitan Ram Manjhi came in. Now is the big question, Rajdeep. Is it Nitish Kumar who will be sworn in as Chief Minister for the 10th time in Bihar, breaking his own record and creating history again?
It's quite remarkable actually what Nitish Kumar has done. What we are now getting you immediately is also the caste breakdown as per the Axis My India poll. Maria, you've got the details of the caste breakdown, because remember in Bihar we can discuss the Mahila factor, and we will discuss that, and the Yuva factor, the new MY as it's called. But ultimately, caste is an enduring reality. If these are the big numbers, Maria, 43% to the NDA and 41% to the Mahagathbandhan, where are the votes coming from? What is the kind of caste coalition that is working for the NDA and what is working for the Mahagathbandhan?
So if you look at the direct calculation, Rajdeep, 37% last time to 43% right now, as is being projected by Axis My India. Is this coming from the Paswans? If you look at it, their caste-wise breakdown is that Paswan's actual percentage is 5%, of which 64% have voted for the NDA as per Axis My India. And when we look at the crucial EBCs, they are 15%. And because we are looking at EBCs just as EBCs, they're not adding the Kurmis, the Telis. In that, 61% have voted for the NDA, which essentially means that not much of the EBC mobilization has happened outside the crucial, that aspect of it, which is the Mallas. So if you look at it, if you break down that further, Ravidas, however, have more a percentage, they have tilted towards the MGB. They are in all 5%, of which 36% have gone to the MGB, 32% to the NDA. SCs, again, if you look at it, 52% have gone towards the NDA. This is out of the total percentage of their population, which is 5%. So the number which I'm looking at is, again, the EBCs, which is 15% in all, 61% still going towards Nitish Kumar, and realizing that he is that person who can consolidate the EBCs minus the Mallas.
So you're saying about 60% plus of 15%. Total EBC is 26%. Am I correct? But you're not including here. No, if you add the Paswanda Muslims, it becomes 36. 26% EBCs, but you have taken essentially you've taken out Kurmis, Koiris out of that.
Absolutely.
And therefore, Pradeep Gupta and Axis is looking at 15% and Kurmis, Koiris separately.
Yes,
and Kushwas.
Yes, so according to Pradeep Gupta's Axis My India, Kurmis, of 4% Kurmis, 68% have gone towards the NDA. Again, in that, if you look at Telis, an important constituency, there was this calculation that because of IP Gupta, there would be a shift towards the Mahagathbandhan. That doesn't seem to be happening. Teli in all have 3%, of which 61% is going towards the NDA.
Okay, so essentially we've got Muslims and Yadavs firmly with the MGB.
Yes.
MGB getting a section of the Dalit vote, but MGB not getting the extremely backward castes and other groups that they need in a way to try and go ahead of the NDA as per the poll. Remember, these are exit poll findings. These are not final findings. But I want reactions again to that, what you're just hearing on this caste breakdown. Are you surprised at all, Manisha Priyam? It seems more or less caste identities are holding. We can talk about Mahila, we'll talk about, but the caste identities as per the Axis My India poll are by and large holding. Small dents made in the Dalit vote, but not large enough for the Mahagathbandhan to topple the NDA at the moment.
So two things. In the caste alliance that you see from the caste prism, then that will tell you that the dominant Yadavs form the core bank of the MGB, and the Kurmi-led coalition of the EBCs. Remember, there's a leader for the EBCs, which are the Kurmis. That sustains the NDA on the other side. The only dent that happens is in the areas where the CPIML is strong, and there you see the Kanus chipping it away on behalf of the ideology-led coalition led by the CPIML, the Dalits, the Mahadalits. So that's the area, the regional map. This time around, the BJP's tried to breach it. Let's see how far they can go in terms of breaching what is the CPIML stronghold.
Rajdeep, if I could quickly come in, the Mahagathbandhan may have talked about trying to breach it and moving forward, but are they getting the VIP votes in their favor? Look at their friendly fights that are happening. The so-called friendly fights, they're happening with the VIP, which is seen as an alliance partner.
Has he given a separate Malla?
Look at Gorapuram, look at Chainpur, look at Baldur.
What is the Malla vote percent?
46%
of
is
Malla
going
vote?
to, of Malla vote going to NDA, correct. 40% going to MGB.
So they've taken it, Rajdeep. That means if 40% has gone to the Mahagathbandhan, that clearly suggests that the vote has split, which had en masse in 2020. Nearly all of it had gone to the NDA. It has split and it has gone to the MGB.
Can I just ask you though, Preeti, you traveled through some of the Malla areas. Now, these are fishermen in large parts of Bihar along the Ganga. The fact is they're about 3-4%. No one has an exact number of the total number across, but they are in almost every constituency in a large belt, in Mithilanchal, in Tirhut, in large parts. I want to understand, the MGB announced Mukesh Saini as their deputy chief minister. Despite that, they've not got a majority. The point is, the MGB was obviously hoping that they would sweep this Malla vote by putting up a deputy chief minister.
Rajdeep,
that has not happened.
No, I've travelled the entire length of the riverine belt where, the population of Mallas is a lot. The VIP actually only has influence in the upper north area, Madhubani, Darbhanga. This is where the VIP actually holds. You go down to Gaya, if you meet a Malla, he doesn't even know who Mukesh Sahani actually is. So that there is a difference. The Mahagathbandhan was hoping to break that 3 to 4% vote and pull in a segment to it. That, if I'm going to look at these numbers, if 40% of the Malla vote has actually gone to the MGB, then the MGB has done its job in terms of fracturing the Malla vote.
But I'll give you an interesting story that a Congress leader who was working in one of those areas told me. He said, "Abhi bhi un area mein logon ko lagta hai ki VIP तीर के साथ hai." So breaking that is not easy. The
But if
symbol association has remained in a way with Nitish Kumar. I want to understand that this EBC vote, Sajjan Kumar, very quickly, because many believe that we look at Nitish Kumar and yes, Mahila first leader, brought in prohibition, brought in reservations in local bodies, brought in cycles for girls, but he has consciously cultivated the EBCs who felt left out of Lalu Prasad's social justice revolution. Explain to us the importance of the EBC factor.
Look, in Bihar, EBCs has been
extremely backward caste for viewers.
Has been constituted. So there has been a subcategory within the OBCs since 1978 when Karpuri Thakur came, and he carefully nurtured and ensured that the leadership of backward caste should not go into the hands of the dominant OBCs, which came in 1990 with Lalu Prasad Yadav for the first time into the hands of the Yadavs, and thereafter they felt left out because overwhelmingly it catered to the Yadavs. So when Nitish came into power, he carefully nurtured EBCs by schemes and by ensuring that the women, by the law and order plank and by welfare schemes, they are given priority. So Shasan and Ration both were the plank which nurtured them as a formidable constituency, and they came together. And that is why still you see in their everyday experience, what they see that which leadership is providing them a sort of assurance in terms of welfare schemes as well as in terms of a better perception of law and order. And on this both plank, he remains the trusted leader.
You know, I just want a quick point from Javed Ansari, because this has been a problem that the Mahagathbandhan has faced, the fear of Jungle Raj. And EBCs in particular have felt that if Lalu Prasad's son comes back, Yadav Raj comes back. And that has, in a way, these EBCs voted for Lalu Prasad, 1990, 1995. They are the ones who've drifted away. Do you sense that Lalu Prasad still haunts Tejashwi in some way in the Mahagathbandhan if these numbers hold?
Yes, and I think Tejashwi has failed in emulating the kind of, in broadening his tent and emulating Akhilesh. Akhilesh also suffered. Samajwadi Party also carries this baggage of over-Yadavization. But there he spread the tent. In the last Lok Sabha elections, through PDA, he brought in other backward castes. Tejashwi has not been able to do it to the extent they ought to have done. And because they failed to chip away enough and more of EBC and Mahadalits, and therein lies the reason for the performance.
You know, it's interesting because Tejashwi gave 51 seats to Yadavs, 19 to Muslims, 18 to Muslims. So 69 out of his 140 odd are Muslims and Yadavs. He tried to give EBCs and Kushwas in particular, hoping that he could attract them. But it is not easy to build that kind of coalition. Yes.
There was an infighting going on within the RJD and the VIP, within the RJD and the Congress, within the RJD and the, IP Gupta's party. So when all of this is happening, how will you bring in caste? So much so, Mukesh Sahni's brother, Santosh Sahni, had to step down for an RJD candidate. One seat, Gaurav Boram. Look at Chainpur. Brij Kishor Bind in RJD versus Govind Bind of the VIP. And instead of taking on the JDU, they're taking on each other. There's another example in Beldur, where the Nishad party, Mithilesh Kumar Nishad versus the IIP candidate instead of taking on the JDU. So look at this infighting.
There are more numbers coming.
Yes.
We want to focus today on numbers. One of those numbers is the Yuva vote. Maria, I want to first you to explain before we go to the Access by India votes on age composition, why the youth vote. We keep mentioning Mahila and we did it at the outset. What is the youth factor in Bihar?
Yes. So we have been talking about the Mahila factor. They have tilted the balance of power in favor of Nitish Kumar in 2020, clearly giving a decisive edge to the NDA. Now, what is the youth factor that is being discussed in the context of 2025 Bihar? Just look at these numbers here. In all, the total number of registered voters in Bihar stands at 7.43 crores, of which the young voters, which is male and female, in the age group of 18 to 30 is 1.63 crore, which is 22% of the total electorate. And again, the first-time voters, again a very important category, is 14.1 lakh voters. This becomes important because Bihar has been, it is the state which is the youngest in terms of its demographic, but also has several complexities. And is the youth now despondent, frustrated with the current regime is the big question. Now let's give you a sense of how this Yuva or the youth of Bihar voted in 2020 polls. Look at this number. Again, in this age bracket of 18 to 29, they voted significantly for the NDA. The gap between the NDA and the Mahagathbandhan in 2020 was 4%. I'll be asking the producer to put that on our television screens. In 2020, that age gap between, in that group of 18 to 29, Mahagathbandhan got 37% of votes, NDA getting 41%. When we look at, again, this young men and young women, NDA and Mahagathbandhan almost getting the same numbers. In fact, Mahagathbandhan got 39%, NDA got 38%. What about now?
Okay.
Rajdeep, over to you.
You know, that's interesting because the Axis My India poll is saying the following, and listen to these numbers carefully. In their age-wise vote share, they are giving in the age group 20 to 29, many of them first-time voters, and 22% of Bihar is this, 37% to NDA, but 44% to the Mahagathbandhan. So the Mahagathbandhan actually has a 7% lead. You know, there has been so much talk of the youth factor, but a 7%. So if the Mahagathbandhan is still in the race, as per Axis My India, it's the youth which is propelling Tejashwi Yadav forward. And Suraj, which many people, the new party of Prashant Kishor, is just getting 6%. Now, if you go on the other hand to those who are over 60 to 69 age, here there is a 10% gap in favor of the NDA. 49%, 39%. Remember, pensions were increased to 1100 rupees just before the election. Go over 70, the age group over 70, the gap is 16%. 51% to NDA and only 35% to Mahagathbandhan. What's the story? Those who have experienced Lalu Raj or have been there in the Lalu years seem reluctant to vote for possibly the Mahagathbandhan. Newer voters who are born after in the 2000s are willing to experiment with the Tejashwi. Would I be right, Rajat Sethi? The younger you are in Bihar at the moment, the more you are willing to experiment with a non-NDA arrangement.
Largely, this is an NDA problem, and this is a pan-India problem. This also reflected in 2024, and we discussed this, that it is this young voter which hasn't experienced the UPA days, hasn't experienced the Lalu days. If you pick Madhya Pradesh, they haven't experienced Digvijay's days or years. So this segment of new voters who just don't know what a Congress rule looks like or what a Lalu rule looks like, they are toying with the idea because there is a degree of lack of jobs in the state, and they want, and they are the fatigue factor results into maximum actionable events only in this segment. So I believe they have come out in the
why
hope
have they
that
not,
they can get.
the interesting thing is, why have they not gone for Prashant Kishor? Prashant Kishor was banking on this youth factor as per the Axis My India poll. And remember, I want to put this caveat. When you're a new party, it is often that you get underpolled in exit polls because you may not have any past parameters to go by. Why have they not gone for Prashant Kishor? Why have they chosen a Tejashwi between 20 and 29?
There are certain and I have been following Prashant's journey over the past couple of years. I believe that he made a couple of basic errors. One was not contesting the election. True. Not contesting the election in a place which respects sacrifice. You know, you going out contesting, fighting it out, doing a Kejriwal kind of a thing. I mean, wins and losses are a small thing when you're trying to be the challenger. If you're not being seen in that frame, that you can go out and challenge, there are going to be repercussions. You will not leave the campaign up to a crescendo. You need to build up the narrative and take it to a level.
Go ahead. Yes, strong objection, go ahead.
Number one, youth voters should be about 29%. At 22, we are saying the SIR has left out the youth. However, why, I don't know.
No, our figures show 22% of Bihar is between the age of 18 and 29, okay, the highest in the country.
Okay, fine. So,
now, out of that, at the moment, Tejashwi Yadav and the Mahagathbandhan have a 7% lead.
Okay, so let me just tell you one thing, that if Prashant Kishor has not been standing with the youth, he's not understood the basics of Bihari politics. Since anti-Congress politics has started in Bihar in the 1990s, it has been Sushil Modi, it has been Lalu Prasad Yadav, it has been Nitish Kumar, who were all youth politicians from Patna University. That has shifted. The poorer generation that has gone to schools under Nitish now goes for coaching centers in Musallapur Hat, right across Patna University. The fact is that in Musallapur Hat, the Kurmis, Kushwahas, Yadavs, there is a slugfest amongst OBC children. Who is out of that? Prashant Kishor and the Congress party not there. One second, let me just complete this point. I would say in Gandhi Maidan, where I heard Jaiprakash and Karpuri 5 a.m. in the morning, you see barefoot young people running for bharti. And therefore, I believe that the primary demand of the youth in Bihar today is bharti and jobs.
So,
that's
yeah,
the
go ahead.
reason.
Yes, Javed.
And it is not an Indian
No,
process.
no,
It is
one minute,
not
one minute. So
aligning with the
Prashant,
youth.
1 minute. Prashant Kishor is also appealing to the youth that I will bring you jobs. Enough. You've tried up Lalu, you've tried Nitish, but he's not, as per this poll, gathering the traction even among that youth demographic.
Yeah.
That's my question.
Yeah, because he's not seen as a serious contender. Because he's a first timer. He's still not seen, while there is no doubt that he's the only one who's laid down a futuristic roadmap. The others haven't. But just to dismiss this is because they haven't suffered under Congress and UPA, and therefore they are going. That's not true. It's because there are not enough jobs and they are frustrated with the present dispensation.
But Maria, are you surprised?
This is exactly anti-incumbency.
Yeah, but
you need to build it up. My problem is that could this have been a pan-age group sort of a
why was it
phenomena?
not?
Why did it not happen for a pan-age group phenomena? It is
But
the only...
juxtapose these numbers.
Yes.
Juxtapose these numbers on the youth vote in 2020. It practically mirrors the same divide. So what happened in terms of what the youth voted in the age group of 20 to 29%, where you have, I think, 37% NDA, 44, so about 8% difference between NDA and the Mahagathbandhan in the youth.
My sense is very clear.
Practically
Those
mirrors
who have
2020.
memories of what happened in the Lalu years of 1990s are reluctant to turn the clock back.
Yes,
Do you agree with that?
Yes, this is an
you
election.
grew up in that era.
This is an election of memories, as we have been saying. Good memories of Nitish Kumar, as there is a sense of gratitude, even among people who have seen his era and those children who have heard it from their parents. So when we say that this is a generation willing to experiment, let's also not forget that they may be also outside Bihar. They have seen certain things. They are willing to experiment on those lines. But Rajdeep, you know, one thing is clear, that I have met in Jahanabad someone who was from the Bhumiyar community, was working in Maharashtra, who said that I would rather go with a Tejashwi who's promising 2.5 crore vote.
You know, I just want to put very... Just a minute.
30 seconds.
Axis My India poll.
Yes.
Unemployed. They've gone to occupation. Unemployed, 34% NDA, 49% Mahagathbandhan. If you don't have a job today in Bihar, you have looked in this election to Tejashwi Yadav as an alternative. Now we can diss the fact that how will he provide 2.79 crore job, because he said one job per household.
Jan Suraj, Rajdeep?
The Jan Suraj is just 6%.
Even in unemployment?
Even in unemployment. Among students, 33% NDA, 48% Mahagathbandhan. Then as you go higher, the real gap starts. If you are self-occupied or if you are a housewife, 48% are saying NDA, 37% are saying Mahagathbandhan. So law and order there becomes an important issue, and there the
Mahila
memories
vote.
come of the past.
So
again,
That's the
if you
woman
say
vote.
self-employed, 49% NDA, 36% Mahagathbandhan. So the challenge really was that there was anti-incumbency. But how do I build on anti-incumbency if this exit poll is right? Has been a challenge for the Mahagathbandhan. And if these numbers are right, they have not yet been able to build on it. Even among farmers, it's virtually a dead heat. But it is really among the unemployed for one side versus those who have occupations or housewives on the other. Yes, now Gaurav.
You know, the only point I wanted to make was in the Seemanchal belt, where it was believed that MGB will do extremely well, and they may still do well. The youth parents said they're missing. They're outside. They've gone out looking for a job because there are no jobs in Bihar. So would they be voting? Point one. Point two, the other point they were raising was, yes, there is delivery of Nitish Kumar versus promise of Tejashwi Yadav. Will Tejashwi Yadav deliver those one government job per family, and how will he deliver that 30,000 per month? That was the question they were asking.
Taken. Okay, there are interesting also numbers coming in the Axis My India poll on geography. Rural areas, NDA 43%, Mahagathbandhan 41%. Urban areas 44%, Mahagathbandhan 42%. The Jan Suraj 5% rural, 4% urban. So the Jan Suraj, in a way, Sajjan, could it be undercounted? I'm looking at the caveats. Let's be honest, exit polls are not the final result. When I look at these numbers, if this Jan Suraj goes from 5 and 4% to 8-9%, not even double digit, does it change the election? Because in rural and urban, the gap is just 2%. I know it's significant. It's significant. 2% is significant. But there's also the possible underpolling of the Jan Suraj. Could that be a caveat?
If it goes, Rajdeep, then certainly. But what we also see, one of the trend that voters may like you and that we got, but if you do not see your candidate as winnable ones in the constituency, they would vote to someone else rather than you.
ये है बिहारी wisdom कि हम उसी को वोट देंगे जो चुनाव जीतेगा.
Exactly. So that is why I do not think it's underreported.
Rajdeep, I believe that Prashant Kishor's real surprise is that he could do well in pockets in rural areas. It came to me as a complete surprise because I was looking at it as an urban party. In Chhapra, as you know, I have seen them do very well in Garkha, in Parsa. I have seen them do well in Madhara. I don't know what the overall impact of all this will be, but I didn't know that he had struck a chord in rural
By polls,
areas.
Rajdeep, 11%. Suraj took in by polls, 11% vote.
Yeah.
If we are looking at a 4%, I think the general traditional psephology in the last couple of days has suggested that if Prashant Kishor's Suraj polls about 9%, then it cuts into MGB's vote. If it crosses 11%, then we are looking at cutting into the NDA's vote share. At 4%, has he been underpolled is a question that needs to be answered.
Okay.
When we look at the gender-wise, Rajdeep,
Yes,
that
go
has
ahead.
also come
Yeah,
out.
come on. Go ahead, Maria.
Yes, so when we look at the gender-wise number which has come out
Okay,
now,
meanwhile,
Yes, please.
while you come into that, just a bit of breaking news. The Cabinet Committee on Security has begun its meeting at the moment after the Red Fort blast. The probe intensifies. Remember, more people have been picked up. Gaurav, you want to quickly tell us the importance of the CCA? The Prime Minister has come back now from Bhutan. Presumably, they will want this investigation to reach a logical conclusion before any action is taken. This is not, therefore, Pahalgam in that sense. Am I correct?
No, it isn't. You're absolutely right. This isn't a Pahalgam at all, prima facie, because in Pahalgam you had Pakistani terrorists who had singled out Hindus and killed them. In this case, these are Indian Muslim, in most cases, these are doctors and other professionals who were involved in this terror plot. A large number have been detained, but there are some who are there, including a very disturbing fact that there's a car with explosives which is still missing, Rajdeep. So catching that car before the next blast is the biggest task right now.
Maria, give us those big numbers, because I think the election is still, this has been my belief from day one in Bihar. If the Axis My India poll is right, what Maria is about to tell you could be critical. The gender-wise division of votes that's taking place in Bihar. Maria, give us the numbers.
So NDA, according to Pradeep Gupta's Axis My India, is getting 45% of the female voters and 41% of the male voters. But in comparison to the Mahagathbandhan, he's projecting that 40% female are going towards Mahagathbandhan. There is a gap between the Mahagathbandhan and the NDA is at 5%. And among the male voters, Mahagathbandhan is getting 1% more. But when we look at Suraj, and I think that becomes important again because Prashant Kishor's popularity among women is less. It's only 3%, perhaps more among the female. But Rajdeep, in comparison to 2020, this is not much of a swing.
Right.
Yeah,
but
it's not much of a swing.
Let me just repeat what...
That's surprising.
No, so let
There's
me
not
just...
much of a swing.
Let me just repeat this, right? Because I think this is significant. NDA is getting, just a minute, 41% male vote is going to the NDA, 41%, 42% Mahagathbandhan, the Suraj 5, others 12. This is as per Axis My India, a 1% edge to the Mahagathbandhan. As we pointed out at the outset, Preeti had pointed out how there was a gap, even in absolute numbers, between male and women voters. About 4.5 lakh women across Bihar have voted more than men. That's why the women vote becomes crucial. What is the women vote showing? 45% women, as per the Axis My India poll, are voting for the NDA, 40% for the Mahagathbandhan. It's a 5% gap.
4%, Rajdeep, 41%, 45%.
No, please, 45 plays 40. 45 and 40. Male is 41,
Male is 41 and 42,
5% gap between party alliance number one. That's huge, because that could be making the difference, particularly when there's been a large voter turnout.
But Rajdeep,
Preeti, are you surprised with this, or is this what you saw on the ground?
No, Rajdeep, you did see. The fact is, the core constituency of Nitish Kumar is women. you go across Bihar, many see this as the 10,000 rupee scheme that many talk about as a top-up.
No,
I'll
so
tell you
was
what
it,
surprises
just a
me.
minute, was it the 10,000 rupees that was being attractive, or was it the fact that Nitish Kumar over the last 20 years has cultivated
Robbie,
a woman?
Rajdeep, it's an image that is cultivated over years. It starts off with the cycle, then it starts off metric ke baad itna, inter ke baad itna paisa milega. It's a image cultivated over years. But I'll tell you what I'm surprised with in these numbers. I would have expected the difference to be more. If 10,000 rupees was a factor, this mirrors what 2020 was.
And then can I just add,
yes, very quickly,
there
yes.
is another fact called the Yuva work within Mahila. And I've been time and again saying, I have gone and interviewed girls who were on cycles in the last election, but are going to what are called inter-colleges in and around Jahanabad, where the NDA is doing quite well. And the girl said, आरक्षण नहीं, सुरक्षा चाहिए. हमारे थाना में महिला पुलिस कर्मी लगाओ, ताकि हम सुरक्षा से कॉलेज जा सकें.
Who were they voting for?
The MGB.
The MGB. So
Yes,
there's a section of young. So there are two broad divisions. One is age-wise and one is gender. The problem for the Mahagathbandhan at the moment seems to be these numbers is that the gender-wise division is much greater in terms of absolute numbers, because women are the power of 49 or power of 50, if you want to call it that.
Rajdeep, was there caste? Did caste play a factor amongst women?
Yes.
Because
Look,
I'm
This
surprised.
shows
I
caste
was
has,
expecting.
Rajdeep, this figure shows caste has played a factor
we
as
know
well.
caste identities are firm, but despite those firm identities, there is a greater propensity of women to rise above caste identities if these poll is right. Am I correct, Sanjay?
Precisely because women are more scheme-centric compared to the males.
Maria, are you surprised to see only did you expect an even higher gap among women?
Yes.
I also pointed out, and we'll put out that graphic. Remember last time, wherever women outpolled men, the NDA won almost more than 60% of those seats. This woman vote seems to have stayed with Nitish Kumar consistently now over 15 to 20 years. He comes from a community, caste, since caste is being mentioned, which is just 2.5 to 3%, and yet is able to pull in 15, 16% vote consistently. Does the woman have a emotional attachment? Is it, as you once told me, that they see this as a farewell gift for Nitish Kumar?
Absolutely. I would say gratitude. Women tend to have more gratitude, and that's why this is what is reflecting. But Rajdeep,
Women tend to have more gratitude?
Yes. And
that's very unfair.
Yes,
but we'll go ahead. Okay.
But this 5% that I'm seeing is perhaps less than what we were sensing on ground.
100%.
Yes. We were sensing just about almost like women consolidating behind Nitish Kumar, something like 2010 kind of consolidation and surge among the women. That's not reflecting in these numbers at the moment. But yes, as we have been saying, in 2020, the elections shifted only when the women outnumbered men. They started voting in more numbers. And as the elections moved, it was almost in the third and the second phase, it was close to 6 to 7%. That's not reflecting in these numbers right now.
So is this the 10 Hazaria election or not?
Not really.
Had you not given the 10,000 rupees, the gap might have been even lower.
No, but Rajdeep,
That was the way the NDA countered anti-incumbency.
There are infinite counterfactuals we can debate to no end, right? There is no point doing that. 10 Hazari was there, is there, will be there. Now look at
I'm
what
asking you this, Rajat. You mentioned at the outset there is anti-incumbency. Do you believe the BJP in particular sensed it, and that's why decided
100%.
1 month before the election we have to give this 10,000? It's not going to work otherwise.
See, 10,000 is such a big amount कि घर में बेटी की तिलक हो जाता है 10,000 में. 10,000 में तिलक भी हो जाता है. नहीं, मैम, तिलक हो जाता है. इतना बड़ा अमाउंट है. छोटा पैसा नहीं है. अरे allow me to finish, ma'am.
All the women have said सिलेंडर का दाम इतना 10,000 रुपए में कोचिंग में बच्चे का महीना भी नहीं निकलता.
नहीं दे रहे हैं ना, तो तेजस्वी, what is Tejashwi doing then?
Nitish Kumar
my point is,
तिलक होता है 10,000 लाख रुपया कॉस्ट है.
But no, ma'am.
Caste-wise तिलक का दाम.
ऐसा भी नहीं है, ऐसा भी नहीं है.
That 10,000 rupees was about income generation. They bought goats. I saw women setting up pelas because of 10,000 rupees.
Okay, let Rajat complete. Rajat, quickly complete.
My limited point, Maria, is 5% is also not a natural gap. It's quite a big gap. You look at any historical election, right from Jayalalitha's time or any other time. See, this is what constituency he has developed and condensed over time. This is an ossification of a vote base which doesn't change.
I just want to say the CSDS post-poll survey of 2020 had only given a 1% lead among women. to the NDA over the Mahagathbandhan. So there is a shift.
So all I'm saying, this is a significant 5%. Don't belittle 5%. It has the potential to sweep the election.
To my mind, this is the key factor. If the Axis My India poll is right, 45% women have voted for one side versus 40 on the other. It is game, set, and almost match. That's the way I see it. We'll win. The youth will, of course, be a counterbalance. If the youth also went the same way, it would be a landslide. So because the youth have not voted one way, it's a tighter fight. But we're getting one more very interesting data point. Who would you like to see as the next Chief Minister of Bihar? Now take a look at this. 22% are saying Nitish Kumar, 5% Chirag Paswan, Samrat Chaudhary of the BJP 2, and any candidate from BJP 14. That's interesting, any candidate from BJP. So 36, 41, 43%, which roughly is parallels. What has the BJP got? Tejashwi Yadav, 34%. So Tejashwi Yadav, the individual, is 12% ahead of Nitish Kumar. In this direct question, who would you like to see as next Chief Minister? Lalu Prasad, 2%. Lalu still has his admirers. Any candidate from Congress, 3%. And we'll come to the Congress in a moment. Any candidate from RJD, 2%. Prashant Kishor, 4%. Despite the fact that he's tried to make it presidential. Are you surprised, Javed Ansari, that here you've got someone in Tejashwi? He's got a popularity of his own. It is there, but it is clearly not enough to actually make it presidential. Ki main keval Tejashwi ke naam pe vote dunga, that's not happening.
Yeah, because I guess it proves that they lack the organizational heft, the organizational wherewithal.
Is it that or they don't have, as you said, that umbrella caste coalition?
And his inability to broaden the bouquet, to bring in other castes.
So why do you think that Akhilesh, you seem to suggest, has been a little bit more successful than Tejashwi? Is that what you believe?
Yes, I believe, because the last Lok Sabha election showed that in UP. Look at the results. He was wiped out in the assembly elections, and then they've done much better in the Lok Sabha elections.
But Tejashwi has also tried to give other castes
tried
votes.
to, but didn't do
It
enough.
didn't come
And
from-
you suddenly wake up on the eve of elections and you bring this kind of thing. You have to work at it.
Okay.
You have to
And
work at it from
2024,
a-
Rajdeep, was the
That's one by one. Yes, please.
2024 in Uttar Pradesh, with what we are looking at as a benchmark of Akhilesh Yadav, was the perfect storm in terms of fault lines within fault lines where caste was concerned. Akhilesh was very good in terms of how he distributed tickets, number one. Number two, there were enough fissures where the Rajput community was concerned, which is usually seen right behind the NDA. Those differences are not seen on ground as much in Bihar that we witnessed in Uttar Pradesh.
But you know, if I add the numbers of Samrat Chaudhary and any candidate of BJP, it's 16%. Nitish is still higher than anyone that the BJP.
43 is to NDA and 41 is to...
It's similar
Yes,
to...
but I'm saying that Nitish Kumar still scores over any BJP candidate. So the BJP has also not been able to throw any face other than Nitish. Am I clear, therefore?
Precisely, because the state BJP leadership is way smaller in stature compared to Nitish Kumar.
Even a ailing Nitish Kumar.
Precisely, post Sushil Kumar, Modi's era, Bihar BJP doesn't have a leader who can appeal to pan-Bihar electorates. So Nitish, despite being past his prime, still stands out compared to any other Bihar BJP leadership.
And you know, Rajdeep, on ground, just 1 minute, on ground, while you have Nitish and BJP complementing each other and moving forward, and the entire umbrella working together, as far as Mahagathbandhan is concerned, it's Tejashwi Yadav, backed by who? His 34% are the Muslims and the Yadavs.
Gaurav, but on ground,
is the Congress,
but
is
on
the
ground,
Congress,
you do witness friction between the LJP and the JDU cadre.
You know,
I'm just saying it's there, it cuts both ways. It's in both camps.
The numbers that we are seeing, is the Congress taking RJD ahead with it, or is the Congress actually pulling the RJD
It's a
down?
weakling.
It's the question.
We'll come to that in a moment, which alliance is working better on the ground, because remember, there's been a reluctance on the part of the BJP also to officially anoint Nitish Kumar this time as their chief ministerial candidate. Why is a question we'll ask.